I don't know if you guys can hear me all right. Just testing that out, making sure you can see the screen. You should be able to see Bitcoin at this time. We're just kind of waiting around until we get enough viewers in here. We currently only have 4 likes. We're waiting until we get 10 likes so that we have a decent little group of people watching. And then we'll start through with our Bitcoin and then move into Ethereum analysis and the altcoins that people request. We'll probably go for 1 to 2 hours depending on how many requests we have today. Sometimes we get quite a few and end up going for 2 hours. Sometimes maybe the air gets stale, so we'll leave then. But as I said, we've only got 4 likes on the thing, so let's see if we can get it up a little bit higher. If we could get it up to 10 likes, we'll start the stream. If not, and no one shows up today, we'll shut it down early. And I will just go do a stream in the community and delete this one. So let's see what happens. But for now, we'll just wait. If you guys have any educational questions or anything you want to ask, please do. We're up to 6 likes now. We're just shy of 10. Let's get it up to 10 really quickly, and then we'll just start the stream, guys. It's just nice to know there's actually people out there listening and engaged when you're spending hours of your time for charting for others. So, yeah, let me know. Team members taking over this place, huh? Oh, no, man. I hope it's helpful. I hope these streams are really fun for everybody. We try to keep them mainly educational. We try to keep them so that you're getting something out of it besides of just some sort of whack trade call. You know, there's more to this than that. So far, we're at 8 likes, guys. So if we just push it up a little bit higher, we're almost there. Someone took away one of the likes. That's hilarious. But oh well. Yeah, it's nice when you can't interrupt me. So, go ahead and smash the thumbs up button, happy, and let's get it up to 8, 9, and 10, and then let's get the thing going, guys. We have 10 people watching right now. There's no reason we don't have 10 likes and we can get going. And then we can start talking about our targets. Yeah, dude, we'll check. Let me write that down so we have all these chart requests so I don't miss anything. So far, the first chart request was for AERO, and that's from Brian. That's from Brian. All right. The next person that asked for something after that was Toshi. Let me get it written down. We'll do all your chart requests, guys. Even if it takes me a long time, we'll still get it done. So, oh, we're at 9 likes. We're almost to 10, dude. Thank you, guys. We're almost there. The next chart request was Toshi. And then the further, happy one at a time. Don't be an asshole. God. Everybody's trying to get their stuff read, and you're like, let me get 6 right quick. All right. And then I got Toshi. Let's do Ada. Super. Don't know why. VELO. Super actually does have somewhat of a case that it could get bullish. VRA, we'll cover it. I don't own any of this. I sold out. Was quite tired of all the bullshit and games with it all the time. Thank you guys for the likes. We got 11 likes. We can get this stream rolling now. Let me get the rest of our stuff written down. We got VRA. Bop, bop, bop. We got AERO already listed up higher, sir. So we will cover that. What's up, 6 Trouble 1? Gert. Where are you guys from? What countries are you guys coming from? We have quite a big audience today. 13. Thank you all. I'm really impressed that 13 people would want to show up and listen to me. All right, so the very first thing that I think that I would like to do is have us go to our macro Bitcoin chart just to talk about the things that could be going on here, right? Nameless Monster, what is up? Everybody's here, man. God, it's a house party. All right, let's turn off the volume. Let's get rid of the RSI. For right now, that isn't what we're most concerned with. So on a weekly, what is up, Mike? send that rocket. So on the weekly, let's just talk about our macro counts. If things were to get overly bullish, right, and they really started to break out, this is the scenario that we would be going with. So the very first thing that we kind of want to talk about here is that if this is a wave 1 into a wave 2, all of this guy, then we have 5 waves within the wave 3. They pulled just shy of the 1.618 extension on log, taken from 0 to 1 to 2. Because that happens, in Elliott Wave, they say one of the impulsive waves to the upside that comprises the overall move, one of them will be extended. That's typically the wave 3, and that's typically why that wave 3 hits that 1.618, because it's typically the most extended, right? It also has big volume, has a lot of buyers, has everybody getting in, everybody wants to be part of the move. When this one fell short and pulled back, it increased the likelihood that the wave 5 could be extended, right? So if we're measuring for a wave 5 target in Elliott Wave, we pull an extension from 0 to 3 to 4. Our very first target that we aim for is the 0.618 at 129,592, right? If it is to be extended, it likely will break that. And it will move up to the 786 to the 1 line. Now, it's lunacy to say anything higher than that as of right now, but do understand that extended fifth waves can go as high as the 1.618. I'm not claiming that. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. And we'll see more of this as we get into the lower time frames. Why that's happening, okay? Nice. You're from Canada, Delta. Anybody else? Where else you guys from? All right. So if we zoom in here, first let's go down to a daily. And let's talk about if this were to be a wave 5 to the upside that you were waiting on, right? If this is wave 1 into 2, 5 waves within the 3, a big, long, winded correction in the 4, and you're waiting for a wave 5. A wave 5 can be made in 2 different ways. One is a standard impulse, and that's the 1 through 5 motion with the extended 3. No overlap between the top of a wave 1, which would be here, and the low of a wave 4. And it typically gives a nice, good push. So knocked at our door, it makes all the dogs go nuts. A diagonal of some sort would make a 3, overlap in a 4 likely, and then a final 5th. Now that diagonal to the upside can be the start or the end of something. You could also try to interpret it as a potential 5 waves up. We'll go back to our other chart for this. You could potentially see it as a potential 5 waves up in a leading diagonal of the wave 1 of the wave 5. So if that makes sense, we'll label that just so you can see it. If this is wave 1 and you're waiting for a wave 2, and then eventually in time we see that 3, 4, and 5. We'll talk about that target really quickly. Excuse me. Know that this is kind of loose, right? Because you haven't seen any of this yet. This would be the extended cycle. Things really blow up after. Let's say it comes down to the most common retracement after a diagonal, which is the 786. Your wave 3 target would be 222,000. That's if it's not extended at all. And your wave 5 of the wave 5 would come in around 320,000, which is confluent with our macro 1.236, right up in that 333,000 range. I don't think that that's going to happen. I'm not trying to stay in this for that long. I'm looking for this to be an ending diagonal that fits in with this degree of the wave, right? So if this is wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and this is the wave 5, let's delete that. My concern then would be that this is the wave 5 of the wave 5 of the larger degree, right? So if this is what's occurring, that could mean that's the cycle top. What will confirm that as a cycle top with the most accuracy would be a channel from the low of 2 to the low of 4 to the high of 3, right? So if that acceleration line is lost here as a trend line at any point, which we would likely see, you might have to say the cycle top is in. But until then, I think you're still cruising for the wave 5 of 5 on the macro for Bitcoin. And I'm looking for it to come in around 128,000 to 133,000. Now, if at any point Bitcoin itself starts to break out past 140,000, this is an extension, trend-based fib extension taken from the low of 2 to the high of 3 with the third click at the low of the 4. What it's doing is trying to replicate that leg and show you it upward, right? So if this is wave 3, if we clone it, and your wave 5 is as big, meaning a 1-to-1 measure at 140K, as the wave 3, it's likely this count is wrong, and this is more of a 1-2, 1-2 on the macro, right? So we would be looking for 1-2 stacking and those much higher targets we talked about, breaking 200K, blow off top, everybody's buying Bitcoin going crazy, something like that. But for now, I think that we stay focused on a potential ending diagonal in the wave 5 of the wave 5 for the cycle. The news is very bullish on Bitcoin. The masses are getting really bullish on it. So why would they give you a free ride, right? The other thing to understand is that within this wave 5, you're looking for a 3-wave motion to end this, right? So you could have just finished the first leg of that 3-wave motion, and then there will be a decent pullback. What you're going to want during that pullback is for the Bitcoin dominance to fall while the Bitcoin price falls. If that occurs, your altcoins could stay stable, or potentially some stronger ones could gain against Bitcoin. Then in this final 5th move, this is where we'll get a lot of pump for Ethereum and altcoins is my best guess. Now, after that and how the correction's made will tell us a lot, right? Because you can even get an expansion. Say this is 3 waves down in A, and then we finally start to come up. You could potentially make a new all-time high even in a correction, right? So this could be A, you could make a B, and then eventually come down hard for the C, right? I'm not saying this just relatively just thrown down here. But you could see that hard correction even after a new all-time high. So some altcoins could potentially even get room to run after Bitcoin even puts in its all-time high. So we don't know which scenario it will be, but we'll figure it out as time goes on. So do you know what time frame this will happen? So I would be looking for this to occur on your daily and larger time frames. You don't need to be watching this on the hourly or the 4-hourly, right? If you're a spot holder, be an amazing spot holder. Just buy it. I'm not saying buy Bitcoin or buy anything. I can't give financial advice. But what I think you should do is look for exhaustion in the higher time frames, because that's when you're going to start DCAing out of your spot position. For instance, in the community, we've been selling out of Edge because, or well, I have been, because it looks like a potential ABC to the upside, right? So as it's coming into what you would see as exhaustion, meaning divergences on an RSI, where price action gets higher highs and closures, or the flats on the candle, right? So if you get a flat spot on your candle, closure higher, but your RSI does not, that's a regular bear divergence. The other thing that we see here is another sign of exhaustion. Falling volume from the buyers while price action is pushing up. When these things occur, God got me. This is how you know it's time to start rotating or DCAing out of this position, right? So right now I'm about 75% out of this. I'm looking to take the last 25 and leave, and I will move this to different altcoins. Even if it kept going without me, I don't really care, because you can always buy another fucking coin, right? But if you continually try to ride everything to the peak of it, you will lose, I promise, right? So you're trying to DCA out as it comes up, right? If you're always trying to pick the bottoms and say, I caught the bottom or sold the top, you're often going to get left behind as a bag holder or having to sell and loss because you just have too much thick-headedness to sell as things start to turn on you, right? So just be super careful. All right, let's move on. Does anybody have any questions over Bitcoin at all before we move forward? No? All right. Let's keep running. So the next thing that you guys want to talk about is AERO. But I think this is something we shared in the community and we shared in other live stream. I would like to go through Ethereum first, and then we'll move into AERO. All right, so let's zoom out to the 3-day here and talk about why we were buying Ethereum a long time ago. And from there, the community's been doing really well on their buys on Ethereum. So what we see here to the downside, and everything in Elliott Wave is going to be 3s and 5s. We see a 3-wave motion down, right? And you get a potential 3-wave motion up and a potential 3-wave motion down. Because of this, we like to call that a WXY, yes? We're just going to plot that up there for now. When you put extensions on this, a W from 0 to W to X, Y typically likes to go to 1 through 1.236. So let's get this as close as we can. Switch to our corrective trend-based fibs. Now, something that happens often, and no one's expecting it, and we've seen a lot of it this season, was the Y legs falling short at the 0.618, and we've even seen it a lot on XRP, but the 786 extension, right? So that's something to really be looking out for. And if that's what's happening, it's okay. It just means it's very bullish, right? So let's delete this and call that the low of our correction, right? So if all we're focused on now, sorry guys, I have horrible allergies. If all we're focused on now is the move forward from this point, we can give ourselves an invalidation and we can understand why we're dollar cost averaging into Ethereum and what we expect moving forward, right? If this is invalidation, let's delete some of this jazzy wazzy stuff. You know what? Let's delete everything. We'll start fresh. You can always redo it, right? Gives you an opportunity to learn. So if this is our invalidation, and we're only really concerned about, at this point, I would say the daily price action moving forward. Then we're going to get extensions on this and see what's going on. Let's get the volume off the screen. RSI. And let's talk about extensions. From 0 to the high of a potential wave 1 to the low of a potential wave 2. Now, again, 1-2 stacking is a really powerful way for things to get started. Now, in 1-2 stacking, you like to see a 3-wave motion to the upside in which the second leg of the 3-wave motion does not break this 1-to-1, right? Meaning that it's bigger than it. As soon as that occurs, you have to start writing off that it might not be 1-2 stacking, right? So let's just talk about targets from here for right now. This is wave 1 into wave 2. We would still be looking for wave 3, 4, and 5, right? But for right now, what we're seeing is a little bit of resistance coming here at the 1 line. And another thing that we're starting to see is what? The look of a 5-wave nature, right? So if this is the look of a 5-wave nature, this could be topping out around here and making a pullback. Now, I would say what you saw here as a wave 2 will typically be what you see again as your 1-2 stacking, right? Your 2s will like to try to mimic each other. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ethereum come back to the 3,300 level in the bearish scenario, meaning that you have another 1-2 stacking here. I know this sounds stupid because it's bearish locally, but overall super bullish, right? So we'd get 3, 4, and 5. Make that green in a smaller degree. So if this is to happen, this could be how you get a very extended wave 3 that would throw a lot of people off. So I'm not saying it's a rule break, but you can get a slightly bigger second 1, 2. It's not a rule break. It's just generally better if it doesn't. It's generally better if your stacking gets smaller. This is ridiculous, right? These prices. So when you see this and you start to say, wow, it's getting a little ridiculous, I think that's when we have to go over to the linear chart to work, because I think your extensions and targets get too lavish, right? So let's go back to linear and let's work through what could be realistic targets for this from the ground up, right? So from 0 to 1 to 2. And you're going to see this will likely change the chart a lot, right? So if we go from 0, turn our handy dandy magnet back on, to the highs of 1 to the lows of 2, you can see we fell just short of the 1.618 extension. So because we've been finding linear targets to be slightly more realistic, that could be how this could top out. Also would be in a local wave 3 for Ethereum. Let me get a sip of water. Followed by a wave 4 and a wave 5. Right? So if we do get a good reaction on Ethereum around 4,500, which is relatively close, you'll see, to the old all-time high, I would say that would be normal, right? To consolidate or see some sort of reaction here around the 888 and around the all-time high before moving forward. So let's zoom right back in so we can see this. I like to always use the retracements also. But if we're going to look for a retracement in a wave 4 after that, we're going to go from the lows of a wave 2, eventually, to the highs of a potential wave 3. Let's say it comes in around that 4,488. This would be a beautiful wave 4 that we could see here, right? Let's move this over. A lot of times that wave 2 to wave 4 correction time will be around the same amount of time in correction. So let's delete this so we can see better. And let's get a high on the correction. And you can just measure this linear, meaning side to side. You don't have to go to the bottom. Sorry, I meant to move the last click here. We got to do 3 clicks. One at the high of 1, one at the low of 2, and one wherever 3 stops, right? We don't know yet. Now, the thing that you're trying to remember is that that wave 2 was a really short wave 2, right? We're on the daily, and it only corrected 11 days. So your wave 4 would be around 11 days also. I would say for now, locally on Ethereum, I would stay biased for upside, right? And I would do that because from 0 to 1 to 2, you could see we made a somewhat 5-wave motion up, found support on top of the 1.618. I would say it's likely for this to continue that move to the target box that we talked about, even on the lower time frames for now. And once we do get the top of a wave 3, then we'll work for a local wave 4 and 5. At that point, I would be looking to unload a lot of my Ethereum, because a lot of times after a 5-wave motion to the upside, we get a deep pullback in 3 waves, right? So if this stops up here, it would likely at some point want to explore that wave 4, right? So at some point, you're going to come back down here. I would think the best thing that you could do at that point would be to take profits and not try to be stubborn. So if you went from 0 to a potential 3 to the low of a potential 4, and that's if it only goes to the prior degree wave 4, meaning here, that would put the top end for Ethereum around 5488, right? So that's still a really good cycle for Ethereum, especially if you were buying back here or even here, which we were doing in the community. That's still 130% gain. That's more than most people are ever going to see in their career of investing. Okay. So the Discord community, we started DCAing down here. We're all holding, or at least I am, 180% up on that. And then DCA'd more into the 3-wave motion down. I know some people have even dabbled with low leverage as we've been doing this. So this is, you know, really good gains still on the table. All right, so let me check the chat here. Nice, happy. That'll for sure will be the top. Nice, selling out, selling out of that. Oh yeah, out of edge, man. Yeah, I really think you have to kind of DCA your way out of things. Holy cow, there's 15 people watching, guys. Thank you for being here today. It makes me so happy to know you guys care and you enjoy watching this. Thank you for hitting up that like button. Dude, we got 13 likes. I think that's the highest I've ever gotten on a stream. But yeah, Ethereum's been moving nicely. It's been doing really good things for us. What's next? So everybody's still just primed up for AERO. So I think that's been one of our biggest gainers this cycle. I'm not going to go find the videos to prove it to you. You can go look at my YouTube. We called out the buy zone for AERO. And let's go look at AERO. Will that start altcoin season? I don't know if you'll ever get a real altcoin season this cycle. God got me, right? And by that, I mean, there will be an altcoin season where things make good gains, but I would say it's going to be nothing like you've seen in the past where you and all your friends just can mindlessly throw money at 100 coins and all 100 coins are going to blow up and make us money, right? I think you're only going to see certain coins go to this party, dude. And I think that, unfortunately, that's just how it's going to be, right? So we're going to need to make sure we're hitting these coins that have good structure. Because as we've already seen, right, all the way back to last year in October, November, the coins with the structures have been winning, right? XLM, XRP, Doge, HBAR, AERO, all the things that we've been targeting heavy have been going well, right? But if you get into the weeds and you're chasing, you know, something with not such good structures, typically that investment won't pan out for you and it will overall become a loss in your portfolio. So sorry, I won't ramble on for too long because I'll take up the whole stream talking about risk management, talking about what we should and shouldn't be doing, right? So let's move forward. So we'll move on with AERO and talk about why we're bullish on this. So for now, let's stay on log for AERO because it's been proving itself on log to be doing really well. So this was our initial run up in 5 waves, right? And we like this because you can see a 5-wave nature within the wave 1. So even within the wave 3, which is something that's hypercritical to understand, is you need to be able to pick out 5 waves within the wave 3. Then you get a wave 4 and a wave 5, right? Then we make a nice 3-wave motion to the downside here, which was an amazing buying opportunity, right? So everybody in the Discord community, we all chatted back and forth. We shared this as a buy zone. I put it in the YouTube videos recently. If you sold out up here, great. You made 155%. If you're still holding, you're up 126%. I would say pretty freaking amazing. Even if you were to leave now, who cares? You made a lot of good gains. Now, the thing that I will say is if this was the first leg of something, I highly doubt that this choppy, hideous thing is its partner leg. I think this great separation that you're just starting to see is AERO finally stepping into the realm of what could be wave 3s, right? So wave 3s and 4s and 3s and 4s stacking towards the upside, right? I will tell you, we did really well in the Discord community. We bought this low, we bought this low, and I personally, I can't say if anybody else did anything, I added to this trade here even, and a lot of people were adding here again in spot. So with adding in spot DCA, it pulls up your average, but everyone's average is sitting here. You're still in amazing gains. You really have nothing to worry about because you were following this early on. So the next thing that we need to worry about, let's get rid of this local shit because it doesn't matter as much. Let's just talk about this internal leg here. Excuse me. The problem that we're seeing is that this internal orange count, wave 1 into wave 2, has not yet made an impulsive wave 3, meaning it needs to hit, let me go find my stuff here. It needs to hit that minimum $1.41 target, right? So it's not yet proved itself locally as a wave 3 and going into wave 3s yet. Let's delete everything here so we can just look at this better. You'll have to deal with my dog snoring here. She's gonna start turning it on pretty soon. I can hear her falling asleep. She's the most hideous little English bulldog, but she's quite a good friend. Her name is Beatrice. All right, so I don't like that we fell short there. That's not good. The problem here is I don't want to get too in depth here on the local scenario because my investments are for spot holding. I'm not going to spook myself out of this. Let me check one last thing here. We'll go from this high to this low to make sure it was not an expansion, meaning a 3-wave move up in a B wave. Because this hits the 1.618, it does make that unlikely. So let's delete that. So that's a good thing. The next thing I would like to check is like we checked on Ethereum. Did we get a 1.618 on linear? Right? That would be something to start paying attention to if we start seeing that across the board, something like that. And let's switch this to linear and see what we're looking at. So that seems to be the way to go then. All right, so let's put a wave 4 retracement so we know where we don't want to lose. So if we're going ahead and making a wave 4 retracement with a line in the sand, number one, what do you not want to see as a hard invalidation for this structure? Overlap of a potential wave 4 with the top of a wave 1. So if we want to be bulls and we want this to be the innermost 1-2 stacking, we really want to see this wave 4 not overlap, but maybe scare the shit out of people. Maybe it comes all the way back to a $1.06. I don't know. But overlap into the top of the wave 1 will give invalidation before even our 0.5, right? So we're looking for an earlier invalidation here, which is amazing. The next thing we'll do is we'll put a base channel on this move so that we know what's going on there. But let's just plug these numbers for now. Let's get rid of this. Get rid of this. Put a base channel on our innermost 1 into 2. Because base channels are going to tell you a lot, right? You often get a back test of a base channel. That would be really healthy here if this came down and even back test the base channel. The problem is what? This wave 2 took a very long time to correct. So you're also going to be looking for a wave 4 that corrects around the same amount of time. Meaning this could potentially correct sideways. Let me get all this shit off my screen. Until Saturday the 23rd of August. So this isn't bad, right? This is good. But know that this motion that you're seeing to the downside here on AERO could only be the first leg of the wave 4. And then it could retrace up and give another leg to make this a more timely correction with the previous degree wave 2. But nonetheless, it's still a good thing. So let's look for macro targets. I think that we should stay on linear when we do a lot of macro extensions. You'll see how this then kind of flows into itself of the 1-2 stacking. And this is what we looked at in the live stream for the Discord community yesterday. Right? So then you look for a wave 4 and a wave 5. Let's make this a golden count, still circle, and we'll make our largest a macro degree. I would say the best thing you can do is not get your head in the sand and tell yourself that these targets have to come. You know, but tell yourself that there's a potential, right? So I think that's how you get an extended wave 3 in the macro. and that comes up to test that $2 range at some point, and then you get this macro 5. This is just all going to be rough guesstimates, as we would have so much price action left to go to even claim anything like this. But maybe wave 4 comes to here, and then we could talk about maybe a macro 0 to 3 to 4. Looking for a wave 5 to the 0.618. That would give you around a $2.63 AERO. This is way far out in the future, guys, so let's not get too boneheaded and think that it has to happen. Let's be watching for invalidation points all the way. So this could easily make a wave 4, wave 5, wave 4, wave 5, wave 4, and then the final 5th. This would be up a little bit higher. I apologize. So this is something to be open to. That would give you a really good outlook going for AERO going on. But there will be these wave 4 pullbacks that are going to scare the shit out of you. The thing that you should be looking for, though, is what? The rules of alternation between a wave 2 and a wave 4. If wave 2 is deep and scary as shit like that was, and deep and scary and shit like that was, and deep and scary as shit like that was, it's likely your wave 4s will correct sideways and not give back a lot of price action. Right? All right. Let's keep on rolling. Let me check my phone's blowing up here. All right. Stuff I can handle after the stream. All right. Let me check the chat to see if we got anything else going on. Bop, 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 bop. You're too nice, Brian. That's a crime. We are going to have to see if we can boost you on Twitter or something, because you should have more followers. That's really nice, man. I work really hard for you guys. I think that, you know, I don't do any advertising. I don't do any real pushing of anything. I think that in time, our skills and the community itself will speak for itself. And in time, we'll have more and more people continue to move into the Discord community to get in on the action, right? Because we are in these plays very early, and we leave a lot of the plays if they start to look bad and take our profits and move on. I do think that we've seen a lot of natural growth, so I'm just so thankful for that, and I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing until you know, till it works or doesn't. Either way, I'm not gonna give up. So the next chart that we had was TOSHI, so let's go ahead and look at that. Not a whole lot has changed on our TOSHI macro count. One second here. So I would say we're starting to lose the look a little bit, right? So what we were hoping for on TOSHI was that this original 5-wave motion to the upside, excuse me, this original 5-wave motion to the upside had an extended 5th wave that went to the 1.382, and then a very scary correction that shook out most of its holders. After which, we were hoping for a C wave, which could be made in one of two ways. The first way that a C wave could be made was the general impulsive manner in which we get displacement with 5 waves to the upside. Instead, we didn't get that. We got what you see in the dotted path, which is the 3-wave start to something, which is never a strong way to start a motion. It likely is an A or a W, right? But because of this long drawn out move in 3, and then a long drawn out move in 3, it could be that this is an A into a B, and you're waiting for a C wave to the upside. But overall, best case scenario on TOSHI is you're chaining together some sort of hideous ending diagonal in a C wave to the upside. Excuse me. But I just think it's not going to be easy on this one. If it does go, it's going to be really difficult to follow, right? So I would say best case scenario, this gives you another motion to the upside, and now you have some sort of overall motion, and then you're waiting for a big pullback. and then you're waiting for another move up, and then another pullback, right? And then another move up. It could get very long-winded, but I would say with as good as the first leg up was, I would be really hard-pressed not to believe that a lot of these holders are still believers, right? Toshi, every time I've ever talked about Toshi on Twitter, it gets a really big reaction. People tend to enjoy it. So I would say the best thing you could be doing is looking for the most common area of interest, which is 1 through 1.236, with the hope that it pushes up to 1.382. What am I drinking? Today I'm drinking guava kombucha. I've had too many coffees. If I have any more lattes, my fucking fingers won't be able to push the keys. They're shaking so hard. So on Toshi, I really would like to see this play out. Another way that I guess we could lie to ourselves here is you would have to change the count a lot, but you'd be saying this is 3 waves to the upside in W and 3 waves to the downside in X, and then you're waiting for a 3-wave motion up in Y. That could be why this could get really ugly, and like we've seen before, Y waves can truncate at a 0.618 or even slightly higher at a 786. This would come back and take a lot of the liquidity out of that buying wick there. So you'd get around 50% of that. So that's something to be aware of. But I do think overall, I do think it's still bullish. I don't own anymore. I had to restructure my portfolio so that, you know, I could manage what I thought was coming, right? And that was the AERO, XRP, XLM pump, and Doge. I wanted to be positioned in things that I thought were going to have that strong pump, and it worked out so far. So on Toshi, that's what I'd have to say so far. Let's move into ADA. I apologize, guys, that I like to talk so much. I could chat with you guys all day. Anyone who comes to the live streams in the community knows that. I think my most favorite part is getting to talk with you guys and getting to work on problems together. I don't own any ADA. My primary count and reason why is that I think you're waiting for a larger move to the downside here in a C wave. The only benefit I can see to it is that you have a 3-wave motion down. Usually if that's a 3-wave motion down, at some point its high gets taken. But for right now, I'm not an ADA moon boy. I'm not super impressed with it. It's not really like the coolest shit on the market. Old Blue Eyes on Twitter, all these people, they're not pushing it like they used to. So I think, you know, this was potentially a first leg of a correction. And then you got 3 up and a connector. And you're waiting to see what you get down, right? Because this ends on 3 and this looks to be more of a 3x3 pattern, I would like to call it a WXY. And because of that, I keep it labeled as A with a potential move of a B wave up. And I'm looking for downside as my primary route on ADA. I'm very open also to it adding more to this, right? So if this was 3 up and it can somehow give 3 down and then give another motion, so be it. I'll move my B wave pivot over here. But overall, I don't think it's going to have a big bull cycle, unfortunately, right? This is what I believe, right? Again, I can't give financial advice, just my fucking guesses. But my guess is that it doesn't have a bull run. So, all right, let's keep rolling here. That was ADA. If you guys have any other chart requests, please get them in. So far, I see CRV and something called PERP. I don't know if you mean perpetuals or PERP a chart or the bad guy, but we'll see which one soon. All right, so the next thing we're going to go look at is Super. I don't own any of this. I do think that you could argue this as a bullish chart. Let's get rid of that. We talked about this one in the community quite a bit already, but why not do it here? So if we're looking at this on a 3-day, what I like about it is the potential to see a 5-wave motion here, right? And then 3 to the downside, choppy move to the upside, and a final leg of a correction. Within that correction, I could potentially lie to myself and say some sort of a 5-wave motion ends it, right? If that is to be, then this leg needs to be the first leg of something with the wave 2, right? But so far, what do we see upwards? 3-wave motion. Now, that would concern me because nothing strong starts with 3 waves, right? So let's delete everything. Let's add some extensions to this. If this was somehow an expanded flat, right? It barely, I don't even think it took the low actually. It'd make it a running flat, which would be the most rare. Low was 0.368 and low here is 0.366. So this was a lower low, which would make this have to be a running flat then, which is pretty rare, but maybe. The next thing I would like to see is the overall retracement that it reached from 0 to the high of a potential 5-wave motion. We could even try to lie and say this was the end of it, but we'll get there soon. So if that was somehow the high of a 5-wave motion, let's check. It looks to me like it made plenty time in correction. What I wouldn't like is how long it took to correct is past the 2 in time, which means that it would likely try to turn it into a B wave versus a wave 2. What I wouldn't want to say, guys, is I wouldn't want to move the count like this, and I'll explain why here in a second. If this is the wave 1 into 2, this wave 4 would be gigantic in time, right? Even calling this the wave 4 is still bigger, but it's not at least, 6 times bigger, something crazy. So I wouldn't like to call this wave 4. I'll keep this as a correction. Let's go to the daily because I think that's what's going to matter most. And what we're going to notice here on the daily is what we'll go with. So I don't own any of this. It doesn't mean something's going to happen. It's just hopeful that it can. All right, so if this is a low, I really don't like a 3-wave motion and a 3-wave motion. This could be an ABC. That's my biggest fear really quickly. See what I mean? You get some of these charts, they're just going to be not super clear. And of course, this one's called super. It falls just short of our first expanded B wave target. Let's add some extensions, see if that would make any sense. Lots of good interactions at these fib sets. Still good interactions. My concern would be if that was a 3-wave motion to the upside in ABC. Could this be a diagonal in 3 waves and push A, B? That would be my biggest thing I would want to be concerned with is, are you just overall making a correction here? And not getting what would be more than just another leg to the downside. Because my concern is if this 5-wave to the downside stops here and it was the start of something, you could get a much larger correction, right? And that would be that scenario where we have to move the count the way we didn't want to. And that would be the really ugly way of saying, oh, there's just a gigantic 4 and this was 5. This would be my largest concern with being a super holder, would be this would be A, this would be the first leg of B, a pullback, maybe you get another connector, but overall you're just looking to make a B wave up before a C leg down, which would fill the internal fair value gap and price left behind, and all the breakout that was never retested from this old price action, right? You fall just shy of liquidity, just shy of liquidity. right? So if that's true, you know, it could get a bigger leg to the downside. So super is not one that I want to hold. Now, if I wanted to become a holder in it, why would I want to buy it right now? If this was the first leg of it, right? Or even this is the first leg, I don't care. It's a 2,000% gain. At some point, you would be looking for another 2,000% gain. So why are you worried about picking fucking boogers down here at the bottom when you really, what you should do is let it prove itself on a daily, right? And by proving itself on the daily, at some point it needs displacement, right? It needs to make a move to the upside where its partner leg gives displacement, makes a shallow pullback, and then a push. That's when I know I want to start buying super, right? Not the fucking top, obviously, but I want to let it make a 3-wave correction of some kind, and then I buy that with easy invalidation. Number one, we teach this in the Discord, but you'll be able to get invalidation from your extensions and your retracements, right? On top of Elliott Wave structural invalidations, as well as looking at volume and the other things that we'll teach you. But for now, let this go. Move on, right? All right. What's up, Surfn? Hope all is well with you and your family. What are your thoughts on VET? I will write it down, friend, and we'll get to it. Abe Ebeleski. I don't want to say it wrong. That's a hard one. Yo, Daneska. Thank you, dude. I hope you guys do enjoy the analysis, and I really appreciate everybody who has clicked the like button. It really helps us get seen by more people. 17 likes, dude. That's crazy. All right. And thank you to all of you who stick around during this, you know. I know it's quite lengthy stream. Trust me, my voice can feel it. I can feel it. We go a long time, but it's good. Man, that's good. I don't know if you guys get kombucha where you live. When I went to England on my last vacation, that shit was hard to come by. I had to go to like fancy health food stores to buy it. All right, so VELO, I believe, is the one. Happy if you're still here, please let me know in the chat. But VELO for me, this isn't something I'm looking to buy. It's not something I'm looking to hold or fucking be any part of. I don't like the opportunity for this to be a diagonal to the upside, right? So you have 3 waves in 1, 3 waves in 3, 3 waves in 5. So every move on VELO to the upside that should have been an impulse was actually a choppy piece of shit. So if this is going to be just chop, 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 right? And we have divergences coming in on the RSI, which we do. Let's check volume. You have divergences coming in on volume. We have a momentum divergence right then, right? So we have lower volume going from 3 to 5, but higher price action closures, and lower RSI going from 3 to 5, which you hit RSI resistance at in your B wave. Kombucha's the shit, man. You can't even compare that to an energy drink. You can't even compare that to Monster. That shit's the devil's piss. All right. Well, tell your girlfriend to simmer down. And if you wouldn't be on the damn computer so much, she wouldn't be yelling at you. Tell her that eventually you're going to make some money. All right. So if this was a leading diagonal, that means VELO would be setting up for a macro opportunity at some point, right? This doesn't make me fearful. It makes me say, hey, I'm going to get an opportunity in the area of 1 through 1.382, which is also confluent with the golden pocket. The most common retracement after a diagonal is the 786. So, you know, if you get a really deep wick, you got to chat more, Delta, if you're trying to get that crown back. You got to spam the emojis. You got to chat. That's what fires it up. They made the top fans chat. I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, so if VELO is giving this really deep pullback, that's an opportunity, especially if it gives me a wick. You know, if it gave me a wick, fuck. You could get me to catch a falling knife here, right? You little booger. That's funny. Happy's number 2. Who's number 1? Oh, happy you lost your spot to Brian. Oh, no. Not trying to defend happy drink choice, but kombucha is like the vat of liquid the Joker falls into Batman. But it's so good for our guts, and it stops us all from getting colon cancer as old men, right? So we got to drink this shit. All right, so we got VELO done. Let's move on to VRA. This is another one that I'm not super stoked on. I don't own any of. I sold all of mine back when we had the last little bullshit scandal. It came right to our target box. The problem is what, guys? A very lengthy correction, right? If this is somehow, if this is somehow an A, and if this is somehow a B, and somehow this is an ending diagonal in a C, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, it could be, right? It could be. But because, it doesn't really matter if it's WXY or ABC at this point. What matters is that it took past the 2 in time of the total time it took to make the ascent. So if it takes 2 times longer to correct, I have to drop that in the bucket of a B wave, right? So now, for me, VRA falls in a B wave bucket. It's very risky. It's very, very risky. But at some point, it may get a partner leg to that leg. Now, because we're on a 3-day, I think that we should do our work on linear. Let's take a little peek-see. Let's delete everything. So if this is true, at some point it should give a decent move, right? This doesn't have to be perfect, as it is just an area of interest, and we're just taking a guess. This could be how at some point it could try to go back for new all-time highs. With all the scandals and the bullshit involved with the VRA all the time, and how long and hideous this correction is, I'm not buying this. Now, what you could do, and what I would do to make my investment less risky, is I would wait for a 5-wave motion to the upside, right? So right now on the daily, you can't find a 5-wave motion. What you can find is 3-wave bullshit that is taking people's money, right? Excuse my clicking. We should back her up, right? And again, taking people's money. Even ends on high volume. Everybody wanted to get a piece, right? So as long as this thing's just jackassing around on the daily, VRA is not a buy for me. It's not something I'm interested in, especially with such a risky macro count. All right, and then we have ICP. Too late, Delta. That's funny. You guys are going at it. All right, so let's move on to ICP. I don't own any of this one. Can it get bullish? Sure. But again, look at the daily, right? Let me make sure I'm on log. Does any of this look like an impulse? Right? Does this? No. That's the answer. All right. So if we delete everything and we're looking at this range, no part of this should tell you that it's an impulse yet. Right? You shouldn't be super stoked on it yet. Now, if we zoom out again to the weekly here, I think where a lot of people get their jollies on ICP is that it could have a potential 5-wave motion here, right? 5 waves can be the beginning or the end of something, right? So if that's just the end of something, that will be no good, right? Because then you could say that you had an A into a B, and maybe this was a potential C wave that got really extended and went to the 2.236. That could be the bearish scenario, right? So if I had to give this a bear count, unfortunately, which you always have to have, I would say this could potentially just be an ABC to the upside on ICP. And then again, you're looking for a strong motion to the downside to continue, which would likely take those lows. Yes, exactly. This insane clown posse coin, it's going to be big in 2026, everybody. They say that people with insane clown posse tattoos are all bad people. really nasty things they say about them. But if you want to be a bull, you're going to have to say this is the start of something and its correction. And then it's going to make a partner leg, right? I would say from a macro standpoint, you do have, excuse my click, you do have an internal fair value gap left behind here on the weekly. That would be a really interesting area for price to come back to. And I say that because you only have 2 of them left here on the weekly to really look at. And both of them were left behind, right? So that's something to consider. Could be money that it comes back for in the bullish scenario. But in the bullish scenario, this has to be a wave 1 or A to the upside. And that has to be a 2 or a B to the downside. In the bearish scenario, even a wave C can reach a 1.618, right? It could completely clear out the liquidity and dump after. In that scenario, this could be an A into a B. The most common area of interest for a C would be to come to 1 through 1.382 and then reject. So that's something to be aware of. In the bullish scenario and bullish pattern to the upside, we would look for this to be a wave 1 into a wave 2. And then we would go for a wave 3 to 1.618. If you get acceptance in this fair value gap, meaning closures on a weekly or is where I would generally try to stay. It's likely then that you're making a wave 4 into a wave 5 in time, right? That wave 5 would come in around an estimated 2.236 or $358. It doesn't mean this is going to happen. It's just one of the potential paths. And as always, I urge people, you know, maybe do your weekly extensions on linear just to keep yourself realistic, right? So if you were looking at this as a potential wave 1 into 2 on linear, we're talking about that wave 3 only reaching $33 minimum with a light pullback that doesn't overlap into the top of the wave 1, and then a follow-up push to $44, right? So that would make 5 waves to the upside and then a decent pullback, right? The C would likely not leave the base channel, which needs to be redrawn because it was done on log. Excuse me. So if this were to be the case and it doesn't leave a base channel, ABC, but if it does and validates to that 33.48, we could be looking at a wave 3 before a wave 4 and a final push. Yeah, but just because, and this isn't me arguing with you, Marco, it's just my own personal preferences, that if a coin has not proved itself yet, meaning, oh, well, it's only had a forever downtrend. Well, that forever downtrend could just continuing on, right? And that could go to shit. Yeah, 6 Trouble when I'll write it down. Ethereum Classic. I hate this coin. It's a horrible chart. That's why I haven't got it done. But we'll do it today. So the first thing is ICP off the menu for me. It kind of rhymes. All right, let's move on to CRV. But those are the 2 paths, right? So just be aware. Could be bullish, could be bearish. You're just going to have to watch those ones. But as always, look for the validation and invalidation points that we've been talking. Let's go to a log here. The reason I'm not big on CRV is kind of shown right here. We've talked about this in numerous streams, but we'll do it again. If this is a wave 1 into a wave 2, right? Where's the wave 4? It's nowhere to be seen in this scenario to the upside, right? It just pushes up and then starts dropping hard. This is not a wave 4. It overlapped with here. The other thing I don't like is the 5-wave look to the downside, right? With diverging selling volume, meaning this could likely be the beginning of something. Now, my concern for that comes because due to the lack of the look of having a 5-wave look to the upside, I think it's an ABC. It ends on high volume, it gets everybody interested, and then it shits on them, right? The next thing I don't like, this little scared kitty cat popping up right here. Its head, its little scared kitty cat back. It's meow. Usually this gets smacked down, right? You also have lower volume, but higher closures. You also are really pushing up this RSI quickly and making nearly a hidden bull divergence with back there. You might even have made one. Let me check. 6703, 6759. So you didn't make one yet. But man, did it pull it up really, really quickly. Oh boy, when they start asking about MAVIA, that's how I know the season's getting closer to the end. The heroes of MAVIA. All right. Also, dudes, thank you for coming to the stream. It really means a lot. We're nearly to 20 likes already. Thank you, everybody. Let's keep going, though. Excuse me. So with the way this is retracing and not looking overly impulsive yet, I think, you know, this is potentially a B wave high in that you could get another leg in correction. My concern would be that. Because if that happens, you could still have a bull run. It could still come. Higher prices could still come. But it would likely be after this leg to the downside that got to around 27.8 to 22.6. Right? And we would align that with the corrective extensions from a high to a low to a high. And you could see how the 1-to-1 through 1.382 could really get back here and eat up the liquidity in this wick left behind. It might even turn the external liquidity and take that also. Right? They've cleaned up all the internal on the weekly. They have no reason to come back there. So they could even push this up a little bit higher to wick the highs and then roll. But that would be the bearish scenario. Now, if we want to try to be bulls, we're going to give it hell right quick and try. Even though this isn't my favorite coin. Maybe it's because I'm biased. Maybe it's because I don't own any. But when I look at this move to the upside, it's so convincing that this is 5 waves in A and a long extended pullback in C. And then the final push to the upside for C. So an A, B, C. Sorry if I misspoke while I was doing that. It just really, really lacks the look. It never gave you a wave 4. It didn't even hesitate like it should have. I would hate to try to say this is wave 3 and 4 and this is wave 5. That would be a really shitty way to have to count it. And again, when we look at this again here, that's just one more. Sorry for beating a dead horse. I can't really make myself be bullish on this. This was a 3-wave motion to the upside that stops at 1 through 1.382, right? Sorry. Keep misclicking. Right now you made the little 3 points of Sarong's crown and you came down, but I do think it's going to push its way back up here to around 121. Let's get an expansion fib on this. So I think, you know, as a holder, you could be looking for this to give another high before it would have to have any downside. Let's use the new style look. The 1.236 to 1.382 is the most common, but with this nice confluent overlap here at the 105 at $1.44 to the 1.236 at $1.50, that would get the people going, right? So if we could get a little poof up like this, I think it would end on high volume. You would have an ABC to the upside. You would likely see spike of buyers and idiots buying and coming back and being super stoked. What? Delta's back in the #1 chat seat, baby. But if that happens, run for the fucking hills, right? Don't be an idiot that just stays in shit just because you want to think it's going to make you a millionaire because you found it first and you're going to show everybody. I'd rather be an asshole sitting on 100% plus gains than an asshole with no money after this is over, right? I I do think the end of this cycle is going to be a swift awakening for many, many new assholes to the game. I think it's going to be one of the bloodier feelings that you get to watch happen to people. I think it's going to turn around before anyone expects it and absolutely shit down its thighs. All right, let's keep going. Our next chart requested was PERP. After that, I have VeChain, Ethereum Classic, and MAVIA. If anyone else has any charts, dudes, put them in. If you have questions on how do you use your fibs, how do you use the retracement tool, how do you pick out a trend, how do you use the extensions, what do you use volume for when you're charting, what indicators do you like? Fuck any questions, ask. That's why we're here. If you just sit like a little silent toad, you're not ever going to pick up anything. You're not going to succeed. All right. Perpetual protocol, I'm guessing, is what you're looking at. We talked this in the community much earlier on, or we wouldn't have this on our chart. So I'm going to stand by this as a potential wave 1, 3 waves to the downside, 3 waves to the upside, and a possibly extended C leg. We could even try to lie and say 3 down, 3 up. I'd still be kind of stuck with a C, or I could lie and say this was 3 waves to end it in a Y. Either way, I'm going to go with a B or 2. I would say we're likely looking for a partner leg on this. That would be in a C or 3, correct? Right? This was something that we were waiting for. We have the AERO drawn here. We were fucking waiting. Doesn't mean our plans work out. It's just something that we wait for, right? So if you were even into this coin, you could potentially be into it earlier. Why is that? Anyone from the Discord community with half a fucking brain who's been studying and paying attention, what happens when we break this thing next to the red arrow, and what is it called? I'll write that down. The total 1 is the next thing you guys want to talk about. This isn't something that I ever chart, so that should be fun to look at. You also want to look at FARTCOIN and POPCAT. Every time I see the word FARTCOIN, it makes me laugh because I think, yeah, this cycle's definitely going to fucking end bloody. And POPCAT. I haven't looked at POPCAT in probably at least a couple weeks, but we'll get to it. Oh, we have XLM hidden in here. I apologize, dude. Let me get that written down. If I miss you guys' stuff, you always just let me know. I'll go back. I apologize. I'm doing it all by myself. I don't have people here to help me. I'm just a little fish in the big pond. All right, so let's continue down the road of PERP for now. When we talk about a time-based thing, say this was 5 waves to the upside. What do we notice here? The low in a 3-wave fashion was in before the 382 in time. Because of that, that means what? We're looking for another leg to the downside before you can say this correction's over, right? So we're looking for another low. Likely, let's get rid of this. It looks like it's going to be a deep, scary correction, just like the prior degree wave 2. Right? So that could take this, I would say, 786. If not, a wick all the way down to sub 20 to the 0.1983 region, taking out all the liquidity left behind in the internal fair value gap, because you can see we have external liquidity, internal liquidity left behind in this breaker candle, right? Same concept. When this fell back, it left external liquidity here all the way into the internal fair value gap left behind. So I do think this could be just a 3-wave motion up. Let's check its time to make sure. It's lows after a 382, so it's pretty viable. Be open to it coming up a little bit higher before that leg down, and that would change our entry area. But I would say for now, you know, if I was a spot holder and I was just looking to get a taste of this, I would begin to look around the golden pocket down to the 1.236. And I'd make a small purchase, a medium purchase, and a larger purchase, like a little wizard's hat, right? Because that's what you're going to be. You're going to feel like a fucking wizard after you nail a play like this. And that's exactly what we did on AERO early on. I think this could be something like that. Yo, what's up, David? You made it. TELCOIN and FARTBOY. Your votes count, my dude. I believe somebody asked me about TEL today. I can't remember who that was, but I think I might have already done it in the Discord community, so I might have that chart fresh and hot. Let's fucking go. All right, so this could open it up to being a 1-2-1-2, which could be great, right? That could mean at that point you would be getting more bias towards this wave 3 versus a C, right? Because, or at least a really extended wave C could happen in that case, right? But in the larger macro, holy shit, we're bullish scenario, your wave 5 could test $1.20 on this. You would ask about TELCOIN. Happy, it makes me sick. Look, even Addy knew it. He was like, "Ah, this fuck, it's a shit coin. I know who it came from." Yeah, dude, stay on perp. We'll be we could track it in the Discord community. I do a live stream there every day of the week, just about, except Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And sometimes I take off a Monday. So all right, that was perp. We'll move on to bet. I see something in the chat about something pumping, so let's just scan over to that really quick. Nice, it's on Coinbase. So if you buy these big old green dildos, they're going to hurt you in the end, right? You might fall going down the stairs with a handful of one of these, and something bad could happen to you, right? So in my opinion, don't touch this shit. Let it go, let it go, let it go, like Elsa. This could very well be the wave 5 that it's pushing up in. I would say that if you want to be a micro, high-risk trader, you could bullshit your way into this, and you could say that somehow, some way, this is a wave 1 into a wave 2, and all of this is constructing its wave 3. Could be an extended wave 3 at that point. I would always turn on my 3.618, and 4.618 in the extended 3 scenario. We're holding up here at the 3. Let's check volume. The volume is a little bit lower here, so that concerns me, along with a regular bear divergence coming in. Excuse me. We have higher closures on price action, but not on RSI. Right? And we hit a pretty decent little spike of volume and a pullback. Now, if this continued to correct and gave you a wave 4 that was somewhat relative to this wave 2 in time, you could take a position. But again, what I would be concerned, I don't think this is the wave 3 high. I would almost like to argue it gets one more push, but we'll put it here for now. I would like to say you're working on the wave 5 of the wave 5, right? To 26 cents. So just be careful, right? This is the kind of shit that gets us burnt. If I risked $20 to make 100%, that's cool. But if you're putting 10 grand on some shit like this, you're being an asshole, right? You're looking to get punished. Don't do that kind of shit and you'll be all right. What I would say though is, let's also disregard whether or not that's an expanded B. So if we go from the high to the low, this could still be an expanded B wave until it hits 1.618. So if you're a bull, you're really wanting to see ZORA push up and hit that 16 cents at the 1.618. If not, you know, get up here to the 3.618, making it an extended wave 3 before you get the 4 as a pullback and the final push as a 5. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of this. The next thing I'd really like to do if I was someone that wanted to be interested in this would be just a simple base channel. We broke out from it. The inner, to me, inner degree wave 4 back tested it and started moving, right? So this is, you know, it's it's great, it's cool, it's doing things, but be careful, right? The volume really needs to continue to follow through. You have an inverse head and shoulders here on your RSI, letting you know that this big fall was going to come. And you got a really good reset on your RSI, given hidden bull with the potential wave 2 even here. So it could be okay, or even this wave 2 at that point, honestly. But that's how you knew you were going to get this next leg to the upside. But unfortunately, I think it's going to be the end of the 5 waves of wave 5. So if you're wanting to take part in it, you're got to continuously be watching this for a deep wave 4 pullback, right? So even if it tops there, happy fucking days, you look to buy in a 3-wave pullback, right? So you're looking for an opportunity that pulls back like this. If it back tests the channel, so be it. That would be amazing. That's still an amazing run up with easy invalidation here, right? It touches not 0.08. Excuse me, my old eyes. Not 0.8275. It's invalid, right? So even your spot buyer who can't fucking hold off, that just has to put 100 in the game right now, they don't want to see the 618 touched here in this scenario. They want to see it keep on going. All right. So anything else over ZORA? Do you have any questions? All right, let's move on to Ethereum Classic. Unfortunately, this pile of shit. Can't stand this chart. All right. Zeus is going down and ZORA seems to up, so can't see a connection. I thought Zeus went up supposedly. All right, so why I'm not super stoked on Ethereum Classic and why I don't want to own any is because there's a potential for this. Excuse me, I thought I had my handy dandy marker on. There's a potential for this move that ends on high volume that was potentially 3 waves up and 3 waves down, and then the world's ugliest 5-wave finish. Because it comes to the 1 through 1.382 and met resistance there, at the same time, it created a hidden bear divergence back on the RSI with a really cranked up RSI. I'm not super stoked on it, right? I would be concerned that maybe best case scenario, that's the first leg of something to the upside. But what holds me back is, okay, I've made a low well before the 382 in a 3-wave fashion and then 3 waves up. I would say it's more likely to see this get another leg to the downside, unfortunately. September typically isn't the best month for cryptocurrencies, Ethereum and Bitcoin. So there is a potential that you could see these Bitcoin, Ethereums pull back that would really punish a lot of altcoins with shitty structures, right? So this would be one that I would be really cautious about, because the problem is if this is just A to the upside and you're waiting for B to the downside, you have a long road ahead of you. Oh shit, I forgot about VET. But that's Ethereum Classic for me. Let's go do VET. Sorry about that, my dude. You might not like me after we talk about VeChain, though. But I'll do it. So my problem here on VET is the way this leg was constructed to the upside. Even if we want to be a bull and say it was a diagonal, we then have to say it's a leading, expanding diagonal within a wave A or a wave 1. The reason why is because the wave 4 is larger than the wave 2, right? So as soon as that happens, skews probability, right? But what we do like about it is after it was done, we can see a nice correction is hidden within here that could have been a WXY, double zigzag to the downside, and a steep correction that was scary because the X wave retraced sideways instead of coming up high. When that happened, it gave the probability to that next deep, steep wave. Because it retraced so deeply in correlation to this first low, taking back nearly 90% or more of the move, it sets it up to most probability of being a B wave, right? Especially with how ugly this first wave was constructed. Now, if we're looking for a C wave to the upside, you're looking for a C wave to be built in one of two ways. One is an ending diagonal, all in three-wave motion. 3 waves in 2, 3 waves in 3, 3 waves in 4, and 3 waves in 5, right? The traditional way to see a C wave built is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is setting itself up as an ending diagonal better than anything else, right? So I would say overall, you could look for VeChain to come up to around 0.03491 or higher to fill the internal fair value gap left behind here, right? If it can come up for the 1.236, happy days. But be aware, whenever it hits this zone or its resistance at the top of its structure, it's likely going to end on high volume. All the assholes are going to be buyers. Don't be one of them, in my opinion. Beatrice, don't snore in the stream. Stop it. She can't be quiet, dude. All right, so that was VeChain. All right, let's go do MAVIA. MAVIA. Didn't you make me look at this once, Happy? The heroes of MAVIA. All right, so if all we do is stay right here, we really don't need to go look at anything else but this. Fuck me, this is a hideous chart. Even this was a three-wave motion here. It was just, they were just screwing people right up Main Street. Bam. Right up Main Street. Even this, three-wave motion. Let's look at the volume. They were just fucking people on this thing. God. This isn't one that I'm super into. Need to go, can't focus. Oh, don't lie to yourself. You know you love it here. You can't leave as number one. As soon as you leave, your spot will be taken. You'll just be a pleb. You want to have the crown. How does it make you feel to know that you won't have the crown? All right, let's go to a 12-hour on this guy. World's longest correction. Man, with this going past the 6 times in correction, I would have to say any of this shit is likely a B wave, right? It's likely just a hideous correction. Some things never come back. I would say one thing I like is that you do have volume trying to rise up on it. But I would be a little nervous to own it. I would say this is what I would be primarily looking at on a 4-hour, would be could this be the reversal here? Let's look here. 3 down, 3 up, 3 down. What if we move it up a little bit? We say it's a WXY that never take the lows. You could even try to, well, it's a wave 2, so it would have to be a WXY. You can't have a triangle for the whole. How do you get number one, Steven? You just got to chat. Hit the party up, man. What country are you from? That always helps get the party going if you guys sharing that. If you have any drinks to drink on during the chat, I have to have them. I've been running spin drifts and kombuchas, coffees. I am burnt out. Sorry, I'm actually trying to get another drink real quick. My throat is killing me. All right, so if you want to be a bull, you're going to have to be saying that somehow, some way, this was the first leg of something, and you're waiting for its partner leg. Now, if you do this with a channel as a base, it will help you invalidate a lot of your bullshit. So I'm going to go to this low and this high, and let's check. Centerline reaction isn't amazing there. Let's put that back how I had it. Sorry. Guess you don't really ever get a great center line check. So I'll leave it here. I would say whatever this thing's doing, I would wait for it to give a range of some kind and then a final push. But I would be getting really nervous, right? Because it could very easily get rejected. Australian living in Germany. Nice. Oof. I'm not talking shit, but I heard the food in Germany was no good. I heard it was super bland. Everybody was saying it was just like all sausages and potatoes and burnt. Dude, blood orange spindrift's real good. I really like this other one, Island Punch. It's passion fruit, orange guava. That is good. Well, I drink plenty of water, man. I gotta mix it up a little bit every so often. I don't drink soda, though, or any shit. The only time I drink soda or slushies is when I go to the theme parks. When I go to the theme parks, I get me one of them big refillable cups, you know what I mean? You drop your $11, $20, whatever the fuck it is on the cup. And then all day long, you're just trolling the icy machines for the flavors, you know what I mean? Later, Marco. You'll get number one, Steven. Don't give up. Just keep chatting. Don't let Happy try to take it from you. You'll get them down early, Marco. No sweat. Enjoy the family, brother. If you have anything in on the charts, we'll get it done for you, okay? You let us know. All right. I'm going to go grab myself something to drink really quickly and come right back. It's literally going to take me a minute and a half, and we're going to resume our stream talking about Total One, FARTCOIN, POPCAT, XLM, TELCOIN, and FARTBOY. Okay? Let me get a drink. I'm coming right back. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I apologize. It's time to pop a bottle. Let's go. Woo! I remember when I used to drink, man. I thought it was the shit when you used to just popping beers. I haven't had drink in so long. I stay away from it. Oh yeah, dude. The Dole Whips at Disney Delta are next level, dude. Next level. I drank way too many of those. My favorite drink in Disney was actually in the Avatar land at Animal Kingdom, and it was this green and purple swirled drink with boba in it. It was absolutely ridiculous good. All right. So the next thing you guys wanted to talk about was Total One. This isn't something I often look up, so I don't even know how to really type it in. I apologize. I'm guessing it's this one, the crypto total market cap. Whoopsie. Any of this market caps and any of the market caps or dominance charts, stuff like that, I don't think that they play super nice with Elliott Wave, right? I think that they like the fibs, but not so much Elliott Wave. Excuse me. So if we had to adjust for this, what is this on? Logarithmic. I don't know why this channel's so ugly. That shit looks like shit. That'd be the low of a 4. This would be the high of a 3 in that scenario. Let's put this on. Sorry, as you can see, this is not a chart that I use often. I like that back test, man. I feel like you could get away with moving this. But that would be, we want a hideous fucking wave 3. That looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 really clearly. So I think I want to leave this here. Come on, computer. I think that we could get away with sliding this up. I don't think I could give you a 61 trillion. Or 6.1 trillion, I apologize. I think that it looks, due to this wedging in, this wedging, tightening pattern, I think you could say possibly this was wave 1 and 2, 3, 4, and going for wave 505 for market cap. I don't understand anything about this. I would say just from a fib standpoint, you're looking for the 1.236 to 1.382 as the most common area of interest. Due to that being the most common area of interest, along with our 786 being there, I would say that's our target box, right? 4.6 gets you in the mid-range. Maybe the market tops at 5.17. But I would say getting into this area of interest from 4.21 to 5.17 is the most common area of interest that we should see. Dude, pork. I don't eat pork, man. I don't get down with the swine, my brother. I don't like it. I think it tastes gross. It's so fucking greasy. Gets all on the, like, roof of your mouth. Oh, dude. Addy, do you remember the Mexican Cokes out down there were, like, so much better than regular Coke, man. Bavarian food. No, I've never had it, man. Not personally. We have a German restaurant on the coast here, but I'm gonna say that they probably don't do German food justice. Sorry, my wife was texting me. I'm just texting her back really quickly. She runs this place. She's asking me how the stream is going. All right, let's keep going. So we did total one. I apologize, but that's kind of as in-depth as I'll be going on it. Total one for me isn't something I really look at. I chart my individual project, and I don't try to correlate this to it or that to it or inversely to that. I pick the chart that I'm trading, and I work that chart only. That means its invalidation points and its validation points, okay? I want to tell you all that are here still, thank you for hitting the like button, dude. We're at 18 likes. This is the strongest stream I think I've ever been to. You guys are really cool. Thank you. All right, let's keep going. After that, we had FARTCOIN. Guys, I'm going to have to switch over to a deck screener. Pork's gross, dude. You'll never convince me to eat it. Switch to a deck screener. And you said FARTCOIN. So I apologize sometimes when we switch back and forth between the standard exchanges to the deck screener. I often will kind of lose the stream a little bit. So I do apologize if that happens. We haven't looked at this in a long time. So what you could very well be seeing here, I still think that's 5 waves to the upside. I don't think, God, this is a hideous fucking chart. That's why. All right. If you wanted to be bullish, you really needed, I need this to turn off. Thank you. You really needed to get a reversal here. I would say the only thing that I like about it, first let's talk about what I don't like, okay? And then we'll talk about what I do like. This move to the upside had nice, good displacement and a pullback and a push and a pullback and a push, and then it goes chop, 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 and finally makes a high. These are signs of weakness. The other thing that I don't like, it ends on high volume. That could very easily have been the blow off top, the opportunity to get out, right? I don't think this is the kind of coin that I'm willing to be part of again, right? I think the last time I played this, I made a really decent amount of money. It's all on the silly Twitter and in our Discord community. But after that, I really lost interest, right? Because I do see the divergences on RSI as a regular bear divergence and the peak on volume. When that happens, with all the chip chopping it did towards the upside, I think that could have been, you know, the high for quite some time. Now, if we talk about, let me get our time tool. Sorry, this isn't our normal setup. I don't normally chart on the deck screener as it's not something I think we should be doing. Your low here is after the 382, which is good. So it could be a valid low, right? So in the bullish scenario, you're going to want to be telling yourself then that this start off the low had to be a wave one of some kind. But your wave three needs to hit what? At 1.618 to be considered a standard what would be a wave three, right? Because a wave three is often extended. So the thing here that we're running into is that this wave three happens before even a 1.236. And then you get a pullback. And then the potential final move to finish this. And then you can see what after? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So a decent push to the downside, followed up by a 3-wave motion to the upside. This, if it's A and this is B, I would say this is likely going to give one more low to sweep that liquidity. And that could be a spot opportunity for a high risk buyer, right? So let's delete everything and talk about invalidation, right? This is a low probability scenario. You've got to have invalidation, and let's base it upon extensions and retracements and see how they fall. So if this is A to the downside and ABC up, go to the first low to the high. We'll look for 1 through 1.382, and we'll put that in conjunction with the retracement from 0 to the high. This is stressful for me, man. I don't even want to be accountable for someone buying this. I think that I wouldn't be willing to make any high risk buys on FARTCOIN until it touched 74 cents. And even then, I would say the most low risk way to do this is, since that first move 600%, why am I nitpicking fucking pennies over here when eventually I would be looking for another 600% move, right? So if by chance, excuse me, my speaking voice is going to let go soon. If by chance that's an ABC, let's see if we can put a channel here to help us. Oops, wrong one. Sometimes you can do them from inception to the 4 to the low of the first correction. And if we get a midline reaction, that could be really good. So be looking from 81 to 74. But the best thing a buyer could do out of there is wait for a micro 5 and buy that pullback with invalidation, right? That's how a smart buyer would do this. And then you would get displacement, right? And a final move and a pullback for another opportunity to add, right? Because you would be looking at this as some sort of 1-2, likely 1-2, and then you would get separation, right? So you're really beating yourself up over pennies here when, damn, 20 likes, guys, thank you. Oh, wow. Sorry. But you're beating yourself up over pennies when what we should be doing is focusing on the potential for the bullish path forwards, right? So if by chance you are right, and somehow, some way, this is a wave 1, you get the secondary low in the wave 2, let's say somewhere in this range, maybe it comes back to internal fair value gap. Why would you be so butthurt, even in an ABC scenario, right? Even if this was somehow an A and you make your B wave low and you go for a C from 1 to 1.32, that's still great money, right? This would make people go nuts. They would go fucking nuts. But I'm not going to be the person that tells you this is going to happen. I am not a high risk person, right? This is something that might get 100 from me, maybe a couple hundred, but it would never see me buying 1,000 or more. It just won't. It's a shit coin. Literally, it's named FARTCOIN. My wife would kick me in the balls if I told her I made a massive investment today, and she'd be like, into what? And I'd be like, shit coin, fart donkey. And she'd be like, oh, you're an idiot, right? It would be horrible. Of course your pepperoni packet's pork, man. It's all pork. They're trying to kill you. They got you eating that shit. It's so bad for you. I'm telling you. Alright, make sure I don't miss any fucking charts here. What's up, Dunk? So this is FARTCOIN. That's my best guess, right? Like, I also think, guys, when you start to get into these larger time frames and you're starting to talk about targets, keeping yourself on linear will often save your ass, right? So do understand that. Do understand that that next move might not be massive. You know, just be aware. So let's see what happens at that zone around the 74 cents. This could go as deep as 68 cents. So I wouldn't be concerned until you get from 78 to 68. The way I buy spot is in 10% drops. So I would buy maybe one little allocation at 78, a secondary allocation around 68, and then I would sit on my hands, right? Because if it made a valid reversal out of there, I could add my third allocation in the way up, and whether I get a C or a 3, I've still got a DCA here, and I'm looking to make at least 160%, which is amazing. It's fuck great on your investments, right? Damn, 21 likes now, guys. Thank you. I hope you guys are enjoying the stream. I hope it's good for you. If you have any questions over FARTCOIN, let me know. This kind of stuff is the stuff that I keep updated daily in my Discord community. You guys have questions, we get your chart requests done. We have multiple people from multiple parts of the world with very different perspectives on things, so do come check it out. But let's keep rolling here. We'll look at POPCAT. Oh, trying to type that in on the deck screener. That's why nothing happened. Go on, kitty. What are you going to do? So, if you want... What did I just make? Oh, I made a pencil mark. I apologize. If you want to be a bull on this... If you want to be a bull on this, the problem is the way that the first leg to the upside was made, right? So you really don't want to see things that look overlapping because it will screw stuff up. Right? So this move to the upside in general, let's make it a little bit bigger. If you want to be a bull on it, you have to say there's 5 waves hidden within here, right? So if you want to say this is wave 1 into 2, great. Wave 3 into 4, great. All this is 5, great. That's wave 3 and this is 4 and that's 5, great. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. What should bother you is that after it made its first leg of a correction, right? So in a 3-wave motion, all it achieved to the upside was a very hideous 3-wave motion, which means this first leg could likely get a partner leg, right? So that would be pretty bad. That would mean starting from here, you would get a replication of that leg. Now that could easily fill the internal fair value gap left behind, or this one left behind. I don't own any of this. It started to look like shit. This is something that we kept updated in the community. We also were mentioning, you know, what did it do to the base channel? Found it as resistance. These are the kind of things that get me out of projects, not into them. All right. So the next thing is what? That was POPCAT. Let's look at XLM. This coin continues to impress me even during hard times. It somehow tries to push up, right? So, in my opinion, what we're looking for here is the potential, if you are lucky, for this to be a 4 in the top of a 3, a 1, and a 2, and a 0. Now the issue is this wave 4 is much smaller than this wave 2. That's the only problem I see. I like that the volume's big in the 3, which is typical. But outside of that, you know, it just loses kind of the look, right? So zoom out so we can see what we're doing here. On a daily, if you're wanting this to be the low of a wave 4 and you're going for a wave 5 target, that takes XLM up to the old all-time highs around that 65.29, which we had back here. But the issue is, excuse me, the old all-time high was 92. Excuse me. If this from here is wave 1 into 2, coming off the low, 1 into 2, 3 into 4, and now you're making 5 waves to the upside in wave 5, after which you would experience a likely hard pullback, right? So if I wanted to be very, very bullish on this, I would say there is the opportunity that this wave 1 into 2 could be seeing some stacking here that gives 3 into 4 and 3 into 4 and somehow the 5th wave. And that's how you get over $1. But I would really say, you know, be watching for resistances here around 65 to 75 cents. That 75 is a big psychological range. It's also all these other highs that you've been dealing with, right? You're fighting these highs. You can see that the whole thing is kind of pinching in and tightening in. So it was looking from compression to get those extensions to the upside. But I think that after taking those highs, it's likely to see some sort of battle around them. If not a decent 3-wave pullback that takes you all the way back here and takes away half your investment, if not more, right? Because I would say the most likely thing would be investigate prior to degree wave 4, if not down to the whole internal fair value gap. So, in my opinion, it could get bloody after that, so it's not something that I'll be looking to hold through on. I'm going to look to try to exit these markets so I don't sit through a 78 to a 90% downside. But go ahead, be my guest. Tell me and everybody else that the 90% cuts won't come anymore because this cycle's just different. I've heard that at least a million times. Here's another shitcoin. I'm not a fan of this. We went over TELCOIN in the community. We have a 3-wave start. That's likely an A. Then you get a horrible fucking pullback in a 3-wave nature, and then a 5-wave finish. Because of the 5-wave finish with divergence, meaning higher closures on price action, not on volume, and not on RSI, it means it's likely an ABC to the upside. And at some point, this first leg could very easily get a partner leg, which would take this down and adjust its attitude right proper and likely put it back in the internal fair value gap, right? So not every single coin is going to have a bull run, in my opinion. All right, let's go do FARTBOY. FARTBOY. Is there any people from FARTBOY here today? Anybody? This was one I look at often. So, excuse me. Now, we've talked about my macro count a million times. We'll talk about it again. I think this was the top of a wave 5. We have a divergence on volume. We have a divergence on the RSI, hinting towards that. Because of that, I have to side with that divergence meant a deep cut was coming, right? Now, in my opinion, everything that FARTBOY has done since that point has been corrective, right? And it's shown, in my opinion, no sign of reversal yet, right? So let's go back over here where we updated our lower FARTBOY timeframe stuff. It's all in the Discord community. Every time people ask about it, I update it as fast as I can. I typically don't share FARTBOY a ton on the internet because I catch a lot of backlash and nasty comments, which are completely unnecessary. But the recent 8-hour move to the upside was a 3-wave motion that ended in a 5-wave nature. Because of that, with the divergence on the RSI, divergence on the volume, and the massive sellers arriving, it was likely an ABC to the upside, right? So that could have been the opportunity to de-risk some of your position before you sat through another 45% downside. The next likely area of interest, because of this just being a 3-wave motion to the upside, takes FARTBOY down to the 1.236 to 1.382 from 0.0130 to 0.1093. I wish I had the more news on this that made it better, right? Now, it can invalidate this, but it needs to build more waves to the upside to do that. And we just haven't seen that yet. So can it invalidate it? Can it blow off? Yes, but we just haven't seen it yet, right, guys? So that's all I really have on that. Does anybody have any questions over anything else that we covered today while we're still together? All right, guys. Well, I thank you for coming to the stream today. Thank you for all your time. And I will get this all time-stamped and added on the YouTube. Thank you all for coming today. Bye, everybody.